Today, we're fortunate to be joined by Dennis Higgs. He's the CEO of Austin Gold Corp. They're a gold exploration company with exciting prospects in Nevada and Oregon. Dennis, welcome to Ron's Basement.
Ron, thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you here to have a CEO of a gold exploration company. But I want to start with a pressing question that I know my audience always wants to hear. Why gold? What are your thoughts on the gold market right now? Obviously, we're hitting all-time highs as you and I are recording this, but what attracted you to gold exploration?
Sure. So gold itself, of course, the consumption of gold produced in the world is about 50% in jewelry, 40% in investments, and 10% in industry. But of course, what moves the gold market typically is political uncertainty, economic uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, and of course, most recently, expectations that the Fed is poised to lower interest rates. I think that's what's driving the price of gold higher right now, reaching all-time highs with in the price of gold.
And I imagine you're optimistic about the future as we look out into the next, let's say, 2, 5, 10 years as well.
Yes, and actually, I'm not the only one that's optimistic. We've seen forecasts ranging as high as $2,000 this decade, meaning going up through to 2030 to as high as $35,000 per ounce this decade. So I'm not alone in that belief, but I'm very bullish on gold. And of course, we are seeing gold reach new highs right now as we speak. Nominal highs.
Yes, nominal, right? Because in inflation-adjusted terms, I read yesterday, the actual all-time high is like the equivalent of $3,200. So feels like we have a big runway, a potential big runway ahead of us.
I agree. I'm very bullish, as I mentioned, and yeah, I think just for fun, I can mention that in the old days, going back, early last century, the U.S. dollar, actually mid last century, the U.S. dollar used to say backed by gold, and now the U.S. dollar on the face of it says "In God We Trust." That's a pretty significant difference.
That's right. Based on confidence, basically, at this point, right?
Yes.
So your company is exploring for gold. And I know when I look at the general market for equities within the mining sector, even the big mining companies are considered to be, let's just say, vastly undervalued at this point. What are your thoughts on the opportunity within the sector, let's say the exploration sector, for share price appreciation potential? We aren't giving financial advice, but as we look out, I just see a massive disconnect right now between the all-time high gold price and what a lot of people are calling almost all-time low sentiment in the mining sector. I mean, it appears that it's presenting potentially like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for investors.
Ron, it is actually, and I agree with that statement very strongly. As we mentioned, the price of gold is nearing all-time highs in nominal dollars, but the gold indices for the gold mining companies and the junior exploration companies are at all-time lows. They're down this year 25% from their highs of the past year, and the S&P TSX Venture Composite Index, which is the broad market indicator for the TSX Venture Exchange, is where many gold junior companies trade, is at near all-time lows. There's some newsletter writers that we follow along the way. Goring and Rosenweg have stated in their most recent newsletter that gold equities are likely one of the most undervalued asset classes in the world today. And as one of other gold newsletter peers recently wrote, not since the beginning of this century have we seen an opportunity like that offered by junior mining stocks today. So a very, very definitely we expect to see some very strong growth, I guess, in the junior gold sector this year. And you mentioned discovery. I mean, in the discovery sector, the price of the gold, of course, the price of the commodity is very important. But of course, the other issue is whether or not these discovery companies can build a discovery that looks like it's going to be big and economic. And the gold mining companies, of course, when they're mining their commodity, mining gold, they have to somewhere along the way replenish that gold that they've mined. And of course, they have to continue to grow their asset base, their reserve base, every year, because they're depleting the gold that they've already discovered and are in the process of mining. So ultimately, these companies, these big mining companies, have to continue to replace the gold that they mined, and junior companies, when they have a discovery, that makes them a very strong target for these major mining companies to take over the juniors.
Junior companies like Austin Gold. I read something the other day that said that the major gold mining companies, that their reserve base today is down by like 40% as compared to like 10 years ago. So their pipeline really is running dry. And there aren't a lot of companies that are positioned like yours, right, that have this potential to find a major discovery in a great jurisdiction. And, as we move into the next 5 to 10 years, I'm hearing a lot of other people say, like, these big companies are going to go on an acquisition spree. There was an article in the Financial Times yesterday that basically said that same thing. Like, these big companies are going to need to acquire the smaller companies, just because, as you said, it's a depletion business. And every time they pull an ounce of gold out of the ground, that's one less ounce of gold that they have available. If you're looking to buy gold, silver, or platinum, do yourself a favor and check out Pembex, the online precious metals bullion dealer and sponsor of Ron's Basement. I was a happy customer before they offered to support the channel. You'll find they have the best prices, quality, and service. I think Pembex is best, and you will too. And be sure to tell them that you're from Ron's Basement.
I think the peak in gold production worldwide was, I think it was 2009. I'd have to look at the charts again, but all of the gold mining companies do have to replace that gold that they mine every year. And Austin Gold, we're in a very safe jurisdiction geopolitically. We're in Oregon, we're in Nevada. The area of Nevada that we're located is one of the richest gold districts in the world. It's produced over 160 million ounces just from that certain area of Nevada, north central Nevada, where we're located. So you asked a question earlier about discovery. There's something called the Lassonde curve. Pierre Lassonde was one of the co-founders of Franklin, Nevada. And he, 30 years ago, put together this curve that explains the life cycle of a gold mining company. You start with exploration, possibly before you even have a before you have a resource. You start with exploration, and then along that exploration curve, if you have a discovery, then the share price should reflect that discovery, and quite dramatically. In fact, sometimes these can be companies that go up 10 times or 20 times once that discovery is confirmed. And then you go through a little bit of a low period where the share price might decline. This is the Lassonde curve again, when the discovery is being developed, because permitting and going through the few years of permitting for actually production is not something that incites enthusiasm in the market. And then, of course, once you start production, if the deposit turns out to be as good as was the reason why they developed, of course, then you get, again, significant returns. So the Lassonde curve shows that the most exciting time to be the greatest rewards can accrue when the discovery is made. So early exploration, going into discovery phase, and then, of course, going through into the production phase. Those are the two most rewarding parts of the Lassonde curve. And for Austin Gold, we're focused in very geopolitically safe jurisdiction. We're in an area of Nevada where it's one of the richest gold districts in the world. And we're looking forward to, or hope we, of course, will have a discovery that entertains offers or potential from the majors. Yeah, it's very exciting for an exploration company, and even more exciting for the stock share price when a big discovery is made. It really is probably the most explosive potential part of that Lassonde curve,
When we look at Austin Gold, I've got a list of things that attracted me to the company. I'm going to run through a few of them, and then, of course, you as the CEO, I'd like to get your insight. You already mentioned what is probably the best jurisdiction in the world, right? Nevada and Oregon. That's working in your favor. You have a management track record. I would like you to touch on that. And I know you're probably not one who wants to brag about yourself, but when I dug into your background, you've started several other very successful companies. I think even one was a uranium company at one point, and which we all know how uranium's been doing lately. But that was a big success. But your whole team, whether it's from a starting companies or discovering new deposits, has a very impressive background. Would you mind kind of sharing with us a couple points on that?
Sure, Ron. Thank you. The foundation of any company is its people, and our team has the experience of proven track record of exploration, discovery, mine finance, mine development, ESG, and mine operations. The Austin Board of Directors has been involved in the building of $3 billion companies: Silver Standard, Credit Resources, and Energy Fuels. And of course, we're exploring for large gold deposits in areas known for hosting large gold deposits. So the team is very active. My own background, I've been involved in the founding of several companies. You mentioned a uranium company. I built a company called Uranus Energy, which was then acquired by Energy Fuels. And actually, I'm still a director of Energy Fuels. And Energy Fuels is right now the largest uranium producer in the United States and has $1 billion market cap. So very briefly, that's the background of our team. We've had a lot of success in the resource sector, building companies, and we look forward to taking that expertise and applying it with Austin Gold.
Yeah. And as you talk about your people, I want to bring up the point also. Everyone always is wanting to see that you're aligned with shareholders, that you have skin in the game. And I read a very interesting statistic about your company that your stock is basically 50% inside ownership, which is almost unheard of. Could you touch on that for a second?
Sure. Yes. Our management and directors, we own a little over 50%, 50.1% of the outstanding shares of Austin Gold. There's only 13.25 million shares outstanding. We own a little over 6 million. So that shows our commitment to the company and our belief in, of course, what we're doing.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that every time the company spends $1, that's 50 cents of the management's own money. So you guys are definitely aligned with shareholders, right?
Yes, and we're well funded right now. We've got about $9 million US in our treasury, and our budgets. We've probably got about 2 years of runway with the current funding we have in our treasury.
Yeah, and that's critical right now because although things are starting, we're seeing some glimmers of hope out there in the last week or so. Obviously, like we talked about with a record gold price, but still, it's kind of been a depressed market for the entire mining sector. So to have that money on hand and to not need to go to the market to raise money for potentially 2 years is a big, big deal. I want to throw in there as well, the company is listed on the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange. Is that correct?
Yes, NYSE American. We're one of the few exploration companies listed in New York. So that's another big advantage for us. It's rare that we're there. We're unique, and of course, most of our peers are listed on one of the Canadian exchanges. So we're very happy listed in the U.S. National Stock Exchange.
Yeah, and the symbol AUST, and I'll have links to that in the description, and I'll have it up on the screen for everybody as well.
I can give you an easy way to remember that symbol if you want.
Yeah, sure.
AU is the symbol for gold, and ST is the symbol for street. So we're at Gold Street. Now you won't forget the symbol.
That's easy. Yeah, the streets are paved with gold, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what could be maybe one of the most important parts, and that is the projects. Could you run through kind of the projects in Nevada and Oregon and let us know kind of where things stand, drilling plans, that type of thing?
Sure. So I started in Oregon, a project called Stockade Mountain. It's in Southeast Oregon. And Stockade was previously drilled by 3 major mining companies, but they were looking for open pit deposits. So their drilling was very shallow, with the average depth of the holes drilled back then about 430 feet. And this was in the 1980s and 1990s. But there were major mining companies, BHP, Placer Dome, Phelps Dodge, but they left the area because Oregon at the time decided they were not going to allow open pit mining. So those companies all left, but that's what provides the opportunity for us today. Those companies that did that work found significant gold in what's called a stockwork system, veinlets. If you can imagine a shattered windshield, each one of those little cracks in the window containing gold, that's what they were looking for, and that's what they found actually. Some good gold values in a veinlet system closer to the surface, but no drilling had targeted the high-grade veins that were mineable by underground methods. These veinlet stockwork systems that near the surface very typically have a feeder that brought that gold up to those veinlets, up to the surface. And so these projects with the feeder veins tend to get richer at depth. And as the feeder vein system that Austin is drilling for at Stockade Mountain, we've drilled 2 holes, we've drilled 3 holes so far, and we've got the results from the first 2, and pretty significant results, 4 feet of 8 grams. But again, that's in the veinlet system at the surface. We're looking for hoping to find a very rich feeder vein system at depth. So that's Stockade Mountain in a nutshell.
So can I ask you a quick question, Dennis? Sorry to interrupt you. So what you're looking for, to use your analogy of the broken windshield, you're looking for where the rock actually hit the windshield, right? And that's typically going to be deeper down, maybe a little more challenging to find, but with modern technology and geological expertise, that you could find that source that allowed those veinlets that were up closer to the surface.
That's exactly right, and thank you for using that analogy. That's where the rock hit the windshield is a good one. So that's exactly what we're looking for. And we've drilled down. I think the deepest hole we've drilled so far is 730 feet. So and we're getting into some, like I mentioned, we're still in the veinlet system, but we're getting some very good results. So they tend to get richer at depth. So we're looking forward to finding, if we can find the main vein system that fed all that gold to the surface.
Okay. And Nevada as well?
So in Nevada, we have Lone Mountain is one of our key projects in Nevada. Lone Mountain is about 20 miles east of the Carlin Trend and 12 miles south of the Jarrett Canyon District. Now, I don't know if some of your followers know of the Carlin Trend, but it's one of the richest gold districts in the world. Over 93 million ounces of gold have been produced from the Carlin Trend, and about 9 million ounces have been produced from the Jarrett Canyon District. So overall, this north central part of Nevada has produced more than 160 million ounces of gold, and the large gold production and current reserves place Nevada among the largest, I've already mentioned, largest and richest active gold producing jurisdictions in the world. So Lone Mountain is about 20 miles east of Carlin, and comprises 13 square miles of a highly mineralized window in the middle of one of the largest and richest gold districts. A window is where erosion has carved a hole in the upper plate. So you've got the upper plate sitting over the lower plate, and a hole carved through the upper plate exposes these lower plate carbonate windows. And it's the lower plate carbonates exposed in these windows that host these large Carlin-type gold systems. So this project has been owned by one family for 60 years and is arguably underexplored. An extreme example of this, there has been some work done on that project over the last 60 years, and none of it's, very little of it is digitized. We've been digitizing it, but it's all maps rolled up and all paper documents and boxes and so on. And they had a shed in Elko. They give an extreme example of how underexplored this is. They had a shed in Elko where they've been storing all this data. So we asked, can we get the key and we'll go take a look at some of this data. They didn't even know where the key was. We had to cut the lock off and gain access to it and so on. But there's a lot of information in there. And
Yeah.
we're going to, of course, bring modern exploration techniques to this underexplored target right in the heart of one of the richest gold districts in the world. So we're excited about Lone Mountain.
Wow. Wow. Is there another in Nevada as well, or is that the main focus in Nevada at this point?
That is our main focus right this moment. We do have another project called Kelly Creek.
Hmm.
The interesting thing about Kelly Creek is it's in the Kelly Creek Basin, which is surrounded by 70 million ounces of gold production. And there's two mines to the south and two or three more to the northwest. The interesting thing about Kelly Creek is another company has done a gold and groundwater survey of the entire state of Nevada, and the strongest gold and groundwater anomaly that they've received anywhere in the state was at Kelly Creek. So that's why we hold that project. But we're probably not going to spend too much time on it this year. We have a commitment to spend money by next year, and so we'll be active probably on that one sometime next year. But right now, Lone Mountain and Stockade Mountain are the key projects for us.
Are the focus, and you're waiting on assay results from one hole from Stockade Mountain at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, and we
Okay.
just finished drilling that hole and sent the core in for assay. We should have results in another, probably about a month.
Okay. And at Lone Mountain, is there any drilling going on right now, or is that planned for later in the year?
Yes, so Lone Mountain, we have, well, what we're doing at Lone Mountain is doing enough surface work to refine the targets before you
Okay.
start drilling. Drilling is the most expensive
Yeah.
part of the exploration that we would be doing. So we want to do a lot more surface work. We've done a gravity survey. We want to do some very detailed geochemical sampling, 2,000 soil samples, for example, over a grid, rock chip sampling, geologic mapping, and then some geophysical surveys. We've done gravity. We'll do some other geophysical surveys that give us an idea of where the structures are. And you want to do all that before you start drilling, and those that surface work will should give you a very strong idea of where you should be drilling, refine the targets, and then we expect to drill or hope to drill possibly later this year.
Okay. Yeah. You want to make sure you spend your drilling money wisely, especially when 50% of it belongs to the management and board of directors, right?
Right.
Uh, okay. Wow. It'll be exciting to see what this third hole at Stockade Mountain brings out. I'm hoping you start to get closer and closer to where that rock hit the windshield. And I want to say thank you because I learned something about that type of gold deposit today. Anything I missed about the company that you want to mention?
Well, I think a very simple comment is that, before we drill, I can't tell you what is in the ground, of course, and whether Austin Gold will have a discovery on the projects that we're currently working. However, we are exploring for large gold deposits in areas known for hosting large gold deposits.
Yeah.
And the prize, of course, is potentially worth billions of dollars. When there's a lottery, and every once in a while in the United States, you have one of these billion-dollar lotteries, and with a billion-dollar prize, and there are a lot of people buying the tickets, and there's only one potential winner in those lotteries. But with our company, with a potential billion-dollar prize at Austin Gold, if we have a discovery, all shareholders are potential winners. And of course, you can't win the lottery if you don't have a ticket.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So check them out again. The ticker symbol AU for gold and ST for street. AUST. I want to ask you. You just got back from the PDAC conference, the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. That was in Toronto. I understand that's like the biggest convention of the year for mining companies. What I'm hearing from other people is that it was crazy busy, and I'm taking that as a good sign. Was that your impression, or what were your impressions from that show?
That was my impression from that trip. There's, I think the last few years, there's been something like 24,000 people attending that conference, and I heard just street talk, but I heard there was as many as 30,000 people at the conference this year. So it's a big mining conference. People from all over the world attend it, and it's of course it's a really good time to be in the sector with gold performing well. Uranium, you mentioned earlier, I built my uranium company, still the director of Energy Fuels and uranium's performing well too. So there's reasons to be very excited in the industry.
Very optimistic. And I like to call it the tale of two cities, right? Record all-time high gold and almost record all-time low sentiment in the sector, or prices. I think sentiment's picking up a bit. But I like to look at that in an optimistic way and say, hey, look, the good thing about the sentiment and prices giving such great, it gives a great opportunity. There's a lot more runway for improvement from where we are as we head throughout the rest of this year and in the coming years as well.
All agreed. I'm looking forward to what the commodity prices bring for us in 2024.
Yeah. Well, Dennis, I want to say thank you on behalf of myself. And, we've had a third person joining us here, our viewer of this video. We learned a lot about gold. We learned a lot about the exploration sector, and we learned a lot about your company. So thank you for being here in the basement with us today. And we will look forward to seeing you next time.
Ron, thank you.